Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 9 of the Audible Farm podcast. I am your host. My name is Peter Stockdale. This week I sit down with Scott Dahl. He's an Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame drummer from around the area. He's played with a handful of bands, including the Kris Karr Band, Nedd Freeley Funn Band, Seldom Seen, and the Fabulous Uniques, who is the band that he got the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nod for. So that's a pretty cool honor for him. Everybody, I'm pretty excited about this one. We sat down and we talked about a handful of things. We talked about buying instruments on Craigslist. We talked about how he first started playing the drums. We talk about a ton of things in here. I mean, it's a 2-hour podcast, so just sit down, relax, enjoy the thing. Hopefully you're headed to a show this weekend, so that would be pretty cool. I mean, I've got a couple shows I'm going to this weekend, including playing in one. So come on out, check them out. If you want to come out this weekend, pop this on while you drive down to the Des Moines area and check us out. More info on all that stuff in the end of the podcast. But this is episode number 9. Scott Dahl. We sit down, we talk about a ton of things. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did because, man, it was a good one. So check it out. Thanks, everybody.
It's the Audible Farm podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
I'm sitting down with Scott Dahl of a plethora of bands. I guess we can kind of plow through them in the podcast here. Drummer from the Humboldt area. You play the drums. Is that what you first started out with, or?
I started obviously when I was a kid. My parents used to take me to local ballrooms and I'd sit and watch the bands while they were out dancing. And I got my first. I had a couple of toy kits when I was a little kid. Got my first drum kit when I was age 11.
All right. So, was it just like a gift, or was it something that you were kind of bugging your parents about?
I was.
Did you buy
I
it
was
yourself?
using the pots and pans and had torn through those 2 toy kits pretty hard, and they knew what I wanted to do. So, my dad had passed away in August, and for Christmas that year, my mom got me my first drum kit, which she couldn't afford much. So
yeah,
and I still have that drum kit in the other room.
What kind of drum kit was it?
It was an old Royce kit.
All right.
Royce used to be a fairly popular name. It's not really anymore, but when she got it, it was what she could afford. It was a used kit from another guy here in town. And I was age 11. Hell, I was ecstatic.
Yeah, no kidding. I would have been happy with anything like that when I was at a young age. I mean, when I first started playing instruments, I picked up somebody had bought an acoustic guitar build-it-yourself kit, and they built it themselves, and it was one of my uncles, I believe, and it was at my grandma's house. And I was like, oh, I want to try playing this. And of course, it's not the greatest instrument, but it's kind of what I first started learning on, and because I learned on that, kind of the same situation. My parents bought me a guitar for Christmas. So.
But I think you said last week that you sold that, right? Or you got rid of it?
I did end up selling that guitar, actually. It's kind of a bummer, but
hey. I've often thought, do I want to keep this old blue junk Royce kit? I don't play it. It's just sitting there on the shelf, but I can count it as one of my many. So
yeah, and I mean, what's the value of it? I guess street value for it.
I mean, couldn't get $50 out of it.
Yeah, okay, so I guess the sentimental value is definitely quite a bit higher than the street value of the instrument. Have you ever just busted it out and set it up? Oh
yeah,
you do?
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. I actually when I go jam with bands, or when I go to a practice or something like that, I'll take it along and I used to practice quite a few times with Nedd Freeley with it, but
no way. So it still sounds really good. You get it all.
Oh yeah,
with new heads and everything.
Well, I don't have new heads on it, but their heads aren't destroyed on it. They're
cool.
not. They're not so tore up that they're junk or anything like that. But if I'm going to use it, I'm just going to go out and use it for a practice 2 or 3 hours or something like that.
That's actually really awesome. I don't know too many people that still have the first instrument they played and actually still use it. It's actually kind of heartwarming, I guess.
Well, the heads on it probably haven't been changed in probably 20 years, but still, I'm not using it but once a year or something like that. So
yeah, it makes sense. All right, so you start playing the drums. Your parents got you a kit. What kind of kicked off the obsession with playing the drums? Because I would definitely say if someone around the area has the obsession with playing the drums, it's definitely you.
Well, it's like I said, when I was a little kid, my dad was a bartender over in the Rutland area, and as a kid, I would hang around and used to be somebody in the Rutland area named Roxy Gregory that played for a couple bands.
All right.
And she actually owned the bar, and
Okay.
she left her drum kit set up in the bar,
Oh, that's
up
neat.
on the stage. So we'd go down on a Sunday afternoon, and Dad would be cleaning or something like that, and I'd jump up and mess around on the drum kit.
That's pretty awesome.
So they knew I had the desire,
Yep.
and between that and every time we'd go to a ballroom or like things, these are way past your era, but the Livermore Ballroom or Rosie's DMT or something like that, I would always be sitting there staring at the band
Yeah.
and watching what was going on, and just that's how I came to.
That's kind of crazy. Do you think it just has something to do with the availability of a drum kit always sitting there? Do you maybe think that has
Well,
something to do?
100%.
All right. Like, I always kind of wondered what made people who play certain instruments choose the instruments, and like, I guess mine availability of a guitar, that was just the only thing that I saw sitting there. So that's what I learned. And I mean, my sister played the piano, and she still does to an extent, but like, I didn't want to choose the piano.
I've always wanted to learn to play the piano or guitar. I own a couple guitars, as you saw, but I can play bass, but I can't read music. I don't know notes. I don't know the first thing about it. I play by ear.
Yeah.
I know that one time, heck, it's been 15 years ago, I was down here in the basement reading a book, how to chord and things like that, and I played like 3 chords, and Deb was upstairs, and she could hear me up there, and she comes down, pouncing down the steps, and goes in the door, and she says, "I hate you," because I was just sitting there teaching myself how to do it.
That's
My problem was, I never did it again. It was that one time, and I've never sat down and learned it again, and I kicked myself. I could learn piano right now. I could learn guitar. I just don't have the willpower to sit down and do it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, or free time with all the bands you're in and
Yeah,
stuff.
could be
too.
it.
Oh man. Okay, so I guess you could say you definitely do have the interest in playing like other instruments. If you had the time, you definitely would.
I do have a couple bass guitars that I do mess around with once in a while.
Yeah.
I can follow an easy 1-4-5. The stuff that I listen to is completely different than what you're used to.
Yeah, I mean, I
So-
get it. I mean, I played the Rockin' Picnic, so I mean, I totally get it. It's not like it's too far away from like the blues kind of stuff I play.
Yeah.
So we're in the same ballpark there somewhat.
Well, I like you mentioned the blues. I like to. People say, "Well, what do you know? How do you know your music?" Well, I'm a lover of traditional honky tonk music,
Yeah.
the old Texas swing stuff. The not really the Bob Wills stuff, but the old Waylon. I mean, I'm an old hardcore Waylon outlaw fan, but at the same time, I'm probably the only guy you'll ever meet that saw Stevie Ray Vaughan live twice.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, my wife and I were big Stevie Ray fans back in the mid '80s, up until when he passed away, and that was a dream at one time to maybe jam with him one day, and then that went right in the shitter.
Man, that's pretty sweet though. Like it was one of those deals when I first started playing guitar again and figuring out like what I was doing. I took to the blues pretty hard, and I was like, man, Stevie Ray Vaughan, that would have been something to see live, because the guy just always seemed to be on no matter what he was doing.
We saw him one night at the State Fair with Greg Allman was the opener, and we also saw him prior to that at the Civic Center in Des Moines. And Blackfoot was the opener, and at the time I had no clue
That's
who Blackfoot
sweet.
was.
Awesome.
But I mean, obviously know who they are now. But
they got popular for covering Train.
Yep. But then Stevie Ray came out, and it was him and Chris and Tommy and Reese Winans, and he comes out and he says, "I'm sorry, folks, but I'm having some bouts with laryngitis. I can't sing. I'm just going to have to play guitar for you all night." And the place went livid, just crazy.
So, who are some of your favorite drummers? I guess then, like, what do you think? Let me ask you this question. As me, a non-drummer, what would you say your drumming style is? Let me ask you that. Like,
I don't have a clue.
you don't have a clue?
People talk about like Neil Peart and Buddy Rich and all that. I'm just not a nostalgic. I don't know anybody that is a great drummer.
Yeah, you just like playing, I guess.
I just like playing. I have, like I said, I've got this honky tonk attitude that the harder and louder I play, and the more I can rap on the bell of the cymbal and snap the snare real hard and thump the kick. That's what I want to do.
So, did you ever get any lessons then to learn how to play the drums at all?
No, I can't read music. Never had a lesson in my life.
So you never had anybody sit down and be like, play it like this instead, or
No.
That's
Up until I met Chris Carr.
yeah. Well, what's up with that then?
Well, no, Chris. Another long story. I had known Chris through a couple of jams. Pardon me.
Nope. Yep.
I'd known Chris through a couple of jams up in Havelock area, and we'd sat and talked. And I always try to stay humble.
Yeah.
Understanding that I'm not good. I can do what I can do, and that's about it. And Chris would always, when we're sitting there, I didn't know him, but he'd keep telling me, "Oh, don't be that way. Don't be, you're good and all that." And
yep.
so I went to, this has been 2 years ago this summer. I was going to a show in Eagle Grove over at the Rails Bar. Well, it turns out that I was there the wrong night.
Okay.
So on the way home, I'm thinking, well, I heard that there was a bar or a band at this place in Badger. Knuckleheads, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So I go, well, I'll just swing in there and see what happens. And I walk in the door, and I no more than step foot in the place, and I see Chris, and like within 5 seconds, he's right in my face. And I don't know Chris that well yet.
Yep.
He says, "We got to talk." I'm thinking, what the hell? What did I do? I know that I play with a couple bands, and maybe he's pissed about something. And
yeah.
He says, "How many bands do you play with?" I said, "Well, I've got a couple of uniques, Seldom Seen, and I've been working this Nedd Freeley thing."
Yep.
He said, "Let's go out back." And I'm thinking, God, he's going to kick my ass right here. He's going to poke me in the nose, and I'm going to go home with blood on my shirt. No, that wasn't the case. He was kind of in between with his group, the Chris Carr Band. He was in between. I think something had happened where his drummer couldn't make the trips anymore, and he said, "I want to give you a tryout."
Yeah.
I thought, well, shit. Yeah,
yeah.
To me, I've played with, and I'm not trying to bash anybody that I've played with all my life.
Oh yeah.
But the talent level was a step up when I started playing with Chris and Bruce and Brad and Jeff.
Yep.
I had to get my shit straight.
I feel kind of the same way. It's kind of a different mode of thing.
With Unity and
yeah, like I went from 3-Finger Betty, which is mostly power chords, and I can like jump around and move on stage. And if you look at a picture of me playing in Unity, any of them online, I am concentrating so hard I don't look like I'm having any goddamn fun. But it's just one of those things. You got to step your game up when you show up to the big show.
That's exactly right. I learned that. I've been playing covers, all my life. That's all I ever did. I don't know how to write a song or create music. I just cover what everybody else has done. But when it came to playing with Chris, first thing we did was he shows me these 10 or 15 originals that he's been doing, and I got to come home and study. I got to take notes. I got to find out what the counts are and find out where the breaks are at, where the crashes, and make sure that everything's the way he wants it to be.
Yeah, because Chris is not only just a musician and a songwriter.
Correct.
He's a good musician and songwriter. I mean, there's
no shit.
There's a big line to be drawn between the two. That's one reason that I don't write too much of my own music, because I'm not necessarily the greatest songwriter. So I just kind of keep it all to myself. But yeah, I can imagine that some of his music isn't necessarily super technical, but you do have spots where you guys all even on cover songs, you guys all stop and then start on certain spots, and you get that nice hanging beat of silence, which I think is something that's so important in music. I don't get to hear too much of that with the shows I go to.
With Chris, even the covers that he has that he's decided to do are not regular covers.
No,
whether it be the Eagles tunes or
he's got a Beatles song or two in there.
Beatles songs, yeah. We're not doing them the way those guys did.
No,
we do them Chris's way.
Exactly,
and it's nice.
I gotta mention it again. I mentioned it on the Jeff Blumel podcast. The kazoos.
Yeah,
that's probably one of my favorite things I think I've ever seen in a show live. It just makes me smile every time I see it, and it's just one of those things. When I see you guys live, I always just wait for it. Well,
I'm like you. The first time I heard him doing that, I thought, "What kind of corny shit is this? What am I getting into?" But no, it works.
Yeah,
it fits and it makes the tune.
And that's the craziest part, is it fits. It fits so well.
Yep.
And it's not something that you would think would fit, but it's like one of those things. As soon as if you got people, you're playing at like a winery or a wine walk or something like that, and people nothing against you, but people aren't necessarily paying attention to you 100%.
That's right.
They're kind of walking around, and then all of a sudden, I know this song. Holy cow, what is that? They turn and look, and they're like, "Oh, this sounds good too." And that's the best part about it, because it's almost shocking to lure you in,
Yep.
and then it's good on top of that.
Well, I was feeling left out, so about, 3 months ago, I bought a couple of cheap $1, $2 kazoos over.
Yeah.
I think I was in Sioux City or somewhere, and I'll tell you, I don't know how to play the damn thing. I can't make the noise. Can't do it.
Really?
Can't do
You
it.
just gotta go do through it.
So I think I'll just sit back and watch the other guys. And
Oh man! So you joined up with Chris in the Chris Carr Band, and
just over 2 years ago, I think it was middle of August.
is that really all the longer you've been with him?
That's it.
Man, holy cow! Man, I can't believe that. That's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. I guess
Just over 2 years.
I feel like you've been with him. What seems like forever.
And it
now.
was funny because I met him on a Friday night, and he said, "Hey, we're playing." He's doing a single out at the winery out here at the museum. Pardon me, not the winery, at the museum out here in Humboldt for the wine walk thing.
Yep.
And this was 2 years ago this summer.
Yep.
He says, "Hey, come on out and you can learn a couple songs, watch and listen." And then that night, we're playing at the street down here at the Prowler, I think it is.
Yep.
And you can play with us that night. I'm thinking, well, that gives me 6 days to learn your material, and I've never heard any of it. So I go and I listen to the wine walk or the winery thing, the museum thing, and I learn a few songs, but it doesn't really help because it's all acoustic.
Yeah.
So we go downtown 4 hours later, and I set up my equipment on the street, and I think I did a decent job of keeping up with what they had. Some of the songs for instance, I don't even know who sings it. Shine, the tune Shine.
I don't know. You have to.
You don't
sing
know it?
No.
It's I don't know. I have no clue. Collective Soul, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know who sings
Yeah,
it.
if it's 90s alternative, that's not my area.
Anyway,
I'm
they
sorry.
said, let's do that. And I'm thinking, dude, I don't know that I've ever heard this song, let alone played it. And once they started into it, I realized, okay, I have heard it. Now I've got to guess what I need to do all the way through it.
Yep.
Worked out just great.
Yeah.
Worked out fine.
Actually, I want to say I was there at that show at the Prowler because was that a summertime show?
Summertime outside on the street.
Oh, man. Believe it or not, I want to say that was one of my class reunions that
Could have been.
day, and a whole bunch of us ended up at the Prowler that night to see you guys. I mean, maybe not specifically to see you guys because that's class reunion stuff.
Well, that was the very first. That was my the very first night I played with Chris, and there was no warm up, no tapes to go listen to or nothing. It was just, hey, let's go play. And
yeah, because were you guys out on the street that night?
Yep.
They opened up the garage doors and they put you kind of halfway out on the street there.
Yep.
Yeah, I was at that show, so
Yep.
that's actually pretty wild. I didn't know that was your first show. What about like Nedd Freeley Funn Band?
Nedd Freeley Funn Band. It's a different thing, and I'll go into this with Chris Carr. Although I'm part of the band, we're 5 guys as one group, and that's one thing is we are one.
Yep.
Even though I joke with them, say, hey, thanks for hiring me, and I appreciate being the hired hand, and the difference between that and the Nedd Freeley Funn Band is the Nedd Freeley Funn Band is I'm so much more involved in what's going on with the band.
Yeah.
I did some looking today at the song list. We've got we had at one time we were up to 96 tunes.
Jeez.
And I was singing 72 of them.
Holy cow.
So, that's a good percentage. That's 70-something, I think, percent or something.
Yeah, I guess that's something I've passed off in mentioning. You do a fair amount of singing.
Yeah, and that's what I love about being with Nedd Freeley is they allow me, they humor me when I come up with all these new ideas. We're doing, we'll do everything from Buck Owens tune one minute to Bad Company, or I'll do a Mississippi Queen with Mountain, and these guys, Donnie Wagner, Eldon Landau, Steve Curry, and Jack Diamond from Algona.
Yep.
I'm the youngest of all of them. I'm 52, and they're all. Donnie Wagner's, I think, 79 years old.
Wow.
Eldon is almost, I believe, 75. Forgive me, guys, if I'm lying. But they're out at that age. They're playing Mountain and Leonard Skinner and
no kidding.
The Doobie Brothers and stuff, and we're just out to play music. Now we got 2 jobs this weekend. We got a job Friday night in Bode at the Red Lantern, and we're going to play all of our rock and roll stuff and hit them hard and smack them in the mouth and leave them gasping for air. And then Saturday night we're going to play in Algona for a dance show.
All right.
And try to do all of our dance music, which is a completely. That's why we have 96 tunes.
Yeah, exactly.
We can play for the rockers one night and the dancers the next, and.
Well, that's pretty sweet. So you got 2 shows coming up with them. I guess before we pass too far past the Chris Carr Band, do you got any shows coming up with them?
Playing the night before Thanksgiving, which will be the What was that 23rd? Maybe I'm not sure.
I'll look it up here.
Anyway, I'm playing the night before Thanksgiving at Sneakers Bar or Sneakers Pub.
Yeah, Sneakers. I think is it like Sneakers Eatery and Pub, or is it?
I believe so. Anyway, it's in Fort Dodge. It's a nice little place. The food is great, and they put the band on the west wall in there. And
that'd be the 21st. Would be the 21st? Wednesday for that show.
Anyway, we get in there and we take up the west wall, but we've been in there twice before, and both times it is standing room only.
Yeah,
I mean, packed.
I definitely love the fact that you guys have the ability to use a lot of lights and things like that without ever seeming too flashy. I don't know how you guys pull that off, but
he's got a Chauvet light system that he sells. He sells the brand through his store there, so he comes with some nice selection of lights, all remote. Pardon me again. Yep. They sit down. He puts a couple beside the drum kit to make me look good.
Yeah,
and he knows his lights. Now,
yeah,
I used to play with a group probably 4 or 5 years ago. A couple of guys up around Lorenz. We tried getting together. We played 4 or 5 jobs, and it just the chemistry wasn't there. It was
tough.
Really not
it's tough,
there.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had one of the guys, one of their wives kept saying, "Well, you got to buy lights. You got to get some lights." And I told her, I play drums. I don't play lights.
That's true. I mean, that is like somewhat of a full-time gig if you want to turn it into something. Have somebody run the lights. Because I mean, I guess that's one of the reasons I don't drag lights anywhere, because I'm dragging all my gear everywhere. I don't got any room for it.
No, I agree. You can't do a show without some sort of lighting, but it doesn't have to be fancy and doesn't have to be $1,000 worth of equipment.
Exactly.
Luckily, like with Nedd Freeley, one of the members owns a lot of the stuff. Jack Diamond owns a lot of equipment, sound and lights, and
that's awesome.
And, we had been using a lot of stuff on loan from a guy named Kirk Hundermark, who used to do sound for the Fabulous Uniques.
Oh, nice.
So he has all this PA equipment and light stuff, and was more than happy to let us borrow it. Thanks, Kirk.
Yeah.
You got us through that era. So
that's pretty sweet. So you got the Nedd Freeley Funn Band, and you do like a wide variety of kind of cover tunes from, I guess you would call it, let's call it like 80s rockish type stuff, all the way back to, what do you want to call it, 60s-ish?
Yeah.
So
I got a couple Beatles tunes we cover in there.
That's pretty sweet. I mean, I guess that is kind of the ideal thing if you want to do it for a cover band. It's almost like a retro styling of way to do it. The cover bands of back in the day used to seem like they covered everything.
Yep.
And nowadays cover bands kind of seem to niche themselves off a little bit, it seems like.
Well, when the band was together, Eldon and Donnie and Jack were together, and they called themselves Faded Glory for a while before I joined in with them.
Yep.
And when I joined them, I told them I'll do it on one condition, and that is that I don't do songs I'm doing with other bands, because I want it to be as a release or an out.
Yep.
To not do all the stuff I'm doing everywhere else.
Exactly.
And B, I want to do a lot of songs. And like I just said, we're going to do two shows this weekend. And we're going to do, I imagine we'll do 4 or 5 of the same, maybe 10 of the same, both nights. But we'll be playing loud on Friday night and mellow on Saturday night. So.
Yeah, and I mean you got to know your situation for that too, because I feel like sometimes you go to places like, I don't know, I played a show not too long ago, and it seems like you run into a situation where the building's small and there's not many people there, and someone just says, "I don't care, I'm going to crank it up to 1 million," and it's like you don't really need to, especially if nobody's here. Like just kind of play your music and enjoy it. But
there is a point where if it's too loud, it's not enjoyable anymore.
I definitely will have to agree with that.
I went to a show Friday night in Des Moines, a Whitey Morgan show. It's kind of an outlaw country dude.
Yep.
I just call it badass country. But anyway, he come out and Alex Williams was the opening show, and I couldn't hardly hear the lyrics. It was just so quiet and muffled. But we're looking at Woolies, which you've been.
Yep.
I swear there had to be 500-600 people in there.
Yeah, a place.
It was packed.
It gets packed pretty quick too. They do a really good job of promoting.
Yeah. So anyway, then the star comes out, or Whitey, and finally I can hear the leads and I can hear the lyrics and all that. And I looked at Deb and I says, "Man, it's not loud at all."
Yeah.
We were, if on a scale of 1 to 10, they were probably running 5 or 6 or maybe 7, and they could have run 8 or 9, and I'd have been happy. So
yeah. Let's see here. So we went over a few of the cover bands you've got. you got going for you. We didn't mention Seldom Seen yet, though.
Seldom Seen is a group of great guys that the first actual band I ever played in was in 1980, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was 15 years old, and I had to have my sister take me to the job because I couldn't drive yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a job out here at the country club in Humboldt. And the name of that band was Sawdust Band. And it was country. I mean, country.
All right.
We played old-time country.
All right.
A few of the guys from that band are also in the Seldom Seen Band. And Seldom Seen Band actually started getting together. I think the last time we counted was like 26 years we've been doing this.
Oh, wow.
And we don't play regularly. Right now our only regular gig is Watermelon Days in Stanhope. And that's once a year we're doing that. And if we can pick one or two up through the year, that's great. But it's some great musicians. Virl Tate from the Renwick area, Bob Johnson, who you may know.
Yeah, I know Bob. Bob's an awesome guy.
Bob is phenomenal.
I love him.
Even though he plays fiddle and mandolin with Seldom Seen, Bob is the #1 best bass player I've ever met in my life.
He's so good, and I feel like he needs more exposure, but I also feel like he just plays when he wants to and does what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. You see him over there and his fingers aren't moving, but yet that bass amp is just thumping loud.
That's the best kind of players, where it seems effortless. And it's like I couldn't even do that if I tried.
Another guy that plays in Seldom Seen is Jeff Halverson, who there aren't many steel guitar players around here, and I've over the last 15 years I've realized that I am a steel guitar lover.
Yeah.
I can't play it, but there's no instrument I love more than a steel guitar. And I've met some guys around the Des Moines area that are fabulous players lately.
Yeah.
But Jeff is the guy that I always come back to. Buns is the guy that...
Buns.
Yeah. That was a high school nickname he had.
It's stuck.
Yeah. Anyway, Jeff is one of the greatest... he is the greatest in Northwest Iowa.
Yeah.
He's great on the steel guitar. He's part of the band. We've also got a guy out of Polk City that we brought in. Jesse Gutierrez is our kind of front man, lead singer. Cool. And the guitarist was the late Mike Williams. He just passed away this fall or this summer. Yeah. And that was a surprise to everybody. But he was our guitarist, and we haven't even been together since the funeral. We need to do it and move forward because we're going to do it. Mike would not want us to stop, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
I remember growing up and seeing Mike play guitar every now and then. I went to the same church he did when I was growing up, so I got to see him every now and then get a guitar out. And he didn't do it too much for the church, but I did get to see him do it.
Mike was one of those guys. Obviously, I've played with a lot of good guitarists. Mike was good, but he wasn't spectacular. He was in his own... He played what he liked to play. He was a big Chet Atkins fan.
Yes.
And he tried to do the Chet Atkins stuff, and he was fairly decent at that.
Yep.
Obviously he couldn't really tear it up real good because his hands bothered him a lot, and with his ailments that he was having, and anyway, those 5 or 6 guys, we've been together for 26 years, and it is George Jones, Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty all night long.
Conway Twitty.
Yeah. And you guys might say, who the hell are they? But like I said, I'm a traditional honky-tonker, and that's what I love to do.
I bet a lot of the youngins know who Conway Twitty is from Family Guy. They make
and now here's Conway Twitty.
Exactly, and that's the only reference they have to it, I guess, probably.
Yeah.
But
well, understand, I'm 20 years older than you are, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like I'm kind of a young buck in the music scene as it goes anyways. Obviously there's a bunch of young people in the music scene that are like about my age, but even like in Unity, I'm the youngest guy. In Three Finger Betty, I'm the youngest guy. So I am the youngest guy around, and it's sometimes only by a few years. But I don't think it's too much of a hindrance, because if I have to be honest, like I kind of came into playing music live with very, very selective music tastes, and I was kind of worried that was going to hinder my ability to enjoy other people's music. Yep. And then the more shows I went to, the more I realized that a lot of the bands were really good. I think a lot of it just took some perspective, maybe. You go to a lot of shows and you play in front of a lot of people and you play around a lot of people, and you're kind of like, man, I got to put in a lot of work, and like these guys are putting in just as much work as I am, so, and who am I to say the music I'm playing is their favorite,
Correct.
So you always run into this situation of that, so you always try and do your best with that.
Well, that's one thing I've kind of, like I said, I love the old traditional 4/4 country, the shuffles and that, and I also love the blues. Like I said, went and saw Stevie Ray a couple times live, and used to go a lot of shows down at People's Music and Ames and Connie's Lounge in Des Moines, and see Tab Benoit and Sue Foley and all those local blues, not local here, but small blues acts that tour the country. Used to go see that a lot, and I've always loved the old classic rock and roll too. I've just never been a fan of. I haven't listened to the radio since probably 1990.
What do you listen to?
Oh, it's all on flash drive now. It used to be CDs and all that.
Yeah.
And this baby right here has got 8 gig worth of music in it. And,
oh, nice. Yep.
And just put a flash drive in the back, and
that's pretty awesome.
I listen to what I damn well please.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no kidding. You don't have to let anybody tell you what to listen to.
Worst thing about radio is the song comes on, you can hear about 10 seconds and hit the button.
Yeah.
10 seconds, hit the button.
Yep. We're gonna go back to country and like kind of the old Western style stuff. I've been doing guitar lessons here in town for the last year or so, and I don't have too many students, but I do kind of take students from like all talent scopes and anything up until about intermediate, because then I'd have to send you out somewhere else if you wanted to get past that stage. But I was helping a lady with some of the Western, like you mix the bass line in with the guitar a little bit, and I was trying to boom chada boom chada boom. I was trying to teach her some of that and how it all kind of went, because she wanted to do it without finger picking, and I'm not the best at finger picking anyways. So
I don't know if you can do it without finger picking.
So
I don't know much about it, but I do know that
you can pull it off with a guitar pick if you really want to. But if you really want to get that kind of like banjo twang, you're definitely going to need the finger picks. Yep. But yeah, I was privy to playing a lot of Merle Haggard as of late, and you know what? It's actually really good, because the thing I like about that music is I feel like the lyrics actually mean something. They leave like a little bit of mystery, whereas lyrics of today kind of feel like they just the
lyrics today are talking about red dirt and your woman in your pickup truck and exactly. Shit like that.
Yeah, I just feel like they're too straightforward with exactly what they're saying, where I feel like a lot of the songs of older would give you an open situation that try to invoke a little bit of emotion, as opposed to just, I guess, running down the same old things over and over again. You know
what you're talking about is to me that would be. You mentioned Merle Haggard. You know, it wouldn't be the mainstream Merle Haggard that you hear today. You go get a box set or something, and listen to the other cuts.
Yeah.
That never made the radio.
Yeah.
The things like Carolyn or If I Could Only Fly. Things that. Heaven Was a Drink of Wine. Things like those songs. Obviously, I'm name dropping on you, or song dropping on you, but I'm just telling you, those are the songs that they've all got a meaning and they've got some story behind them. And it's not just writing a song so that you can sell it on the radio.
Exactly. It's not just chugging stuff out that rhymes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another thing that kind of, I noticed playing a lot of older music, they don't always rhyme, but they don't always, like, I guess, not rhyme, because I've run into that trying to write my own lyrics too, where I feel like the rhyming scheme puts you in too much of a box, and I don't know how the storyteller kind of guys always got away without.
Sometimes it works without rhyming. If your timing of the verse or the lyrics comes in right, you don't always have to be right or right on with your rhyme. I don't think it can be off a little bit, but talking about how you write, that's a Tom T. Hall thing. I don't know if you know who Tom T. Hall is. Really?
No.
Boy, you go down the list of Tom T. Hall songs that he's written, and you'll know 30 of them, I guarantee it.
Well, maybe, I guess. The Merle Haggard song I remember playing a lot to help teach this lady that she really wanted to know was In My Next Life. Do you remember that song at all?
Yeah, that was late 80s he put that out.
Yeah.
Not in his greatest era.
No, definitely not. But it was, do you know if that was a cover song of any sort before that? Or
no, I think he wrote that.
That's cool. Yep. I kind of took to that song quite a bit.
In My Next Life, I Want to Be Your Hero.
Yeah, it was a song about a farmer's wife and a farmer.
And the farmer was going to lose the farm, and he was downtrodden, and all he wanted to tell her was, I'm sorry. In my next life, I want to be your hero.
Yep. And I want to say that they end up getting the farm back, and he ends up going to pass away, and it's going to be the same exact story all over again. So it's kind of
that's what country music is.
But it's so much. I feel like it's so much better than the cliche is always there. It's like pickup truck, girlfriend, dog, beer, and
the classic David Allan Coe line.
But I also feel like they're kind of mixing a little bit of like maybe like a rap or hip hop or pop culture element into it that might be turning it into something else altogether.
Well, everything comes in ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys and whatever.
Exactly.
And there was a day that, I've joked with my wife a few times here in the last year or so that back in the 80s, there was a guy named Clint Black who was popular on country radio. And at the time, I absolutely hated the shit he was doing.
Yeah.
And now I hear a Clint Black song on the radio. I'm thinking, God, I wish it was that good again because it's just trash right now.
So I guess maybe you don't know what you got until it's all gone anyways. So, yeah, I mean, that's just another affirmation to just enjoy what you have when you have it around, for sure. So, I mean, we've mentioned Kris Karr Band. We mentioned Nedd Freeley Funn Band. We got the Seldom Seen we just mentioned. We kind of ran through Fabulous Uniques pretty quick. Did we end up talking too much about them at all? Because I remember
we mentioned anything about them. The Fabulous Uniques were a band that was together in the 60s. I think they formed in 1964. I wasn't born until 1967.
Okay.
Anyway, they were popular 64 to 67, 68, and then they broke up, obviously. And then back in, I think it was probably 2000 or so, they got back together and did a reunion up at, I think it was Livermore Days or something like that.
Yeah.
And I went up and heard them, no big deal. And I had played music with one of the guys before. Well, then they decided they wanted to get together and play some jobs, but their drummer, Rick Wynn from Minneapolis, didn't want to come down and didn't want to partake in it. So they called me. So I was kind of brought in as the new Fabulous Unique in 2000, and then we played for 4 years together, and they were inducted into the Hall of Fame, Okoboji, the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. So I've got a nice little plaque over there for that.
Nice.
And that was cool. I'm glad that they included me on it. I wasn't around in the 60s for it, but it's nice to be an actual member of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Even though it does me no good other than get a couple of cheers at a show or something.
But do you think that maybe the fact they started doing shows again had something to do with the fact that people noticed them, remembered them, and put them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I think that's what it was.
I mean, it's definitely nothing against. In our current culture where everybody forgets things so fast, I feel like it's something like that where a little bit of re-exposure does things some good sometimes.
When they were popular in the 60s, they had gotten awards from the, I don't even know, the Music Association of Iowa or something, that they were the best ballroom band or something. We're talking back in the days when Buddy Holly was coming through. They tell me the stories that they'd opened for the Everly Brothers once, and they backed up another band. I can't tell you who it is, I guess, but they were not as popular as other bands, but they got the chance to play with these guys.
Yeah, they were the support for
they always dressed in the nice attire and good looking, whatever it is that shit that I would never do. I'm a nonconformist.
Oh, so you didn't dress up in this? Do they still dress up all nice?
Well, they would. When we were playing together a lot more back, 5, 6, 8 years ago. They'd always say, "Hey, what are you wearing? What are we going to wear this week?" And I'd say, "I don't give a shit what you wear. I'm wearing what I want to wear." And I kind of feel bad sometimes about that, but I'm me. I'm just if they're all going to wear vests and red shirts or white shirts, you can count on me wearing a black and white hard rock T-shirt or something. And obviously, I'll be presentable at every show. That's one thing I've never done. There's guys that play without shirts and without shoes, and that's great for them if that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. That's just not me.
Yeah,
I try to be presentable.
I always feel like the drummer can get away with dressing different than the whole entire band, almost regardless of the band anyways. Yep. Some of it's definitely comfort, because you don't want to be back there in a 5-piece suit, pinned back.
They'd say, well, we're going to wear white shirts and black pants. I said, all right, I got a white shirt.
Yep.
But I ain't wearing black pants.
Yeah, no kidding. I might wear some shorts, maybe. Or you maybe not even a shorts guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd wear blue jean shorts or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm the introverted extrovert, or sometimes an extroverted introvert.
It is kind of a nice homage, though, to pay to them, too, whereas they're going out there dressing up as the Uniques, and you're the guy that's in the back that's helping them out.
Yeah,
right,
and I was kind of a running joke with them, I said, hey, guys, I'm not one of the originals. I'm sure glad you're bringing me along as a replacement,
Yeah.
But no, they always said, oh, now you're one of us, and that's why I got the plaque. And
that's pretty awesome, though. That's sweet. Congratulations,
It's nice to be included.
Yeah, definitely. I went and saw the Moody Blues a handful of years back. Man, I probably been 7, 8 years ago already. But when I went and saw them live, they had the same situation where a handful of their musicians had passed, and they had a other guys come in, and it's not like they all dressed in uniform or nothing, but the other guys kind of took to the sides and the back of the stage a little bit more, and the names are escaping me, but the bassist and guitarist that were two of the focal members that were still alive that were there, we're kind of in the front doing most of the work.
Yeah, it's whether it be Leonard Skinner or Boston or whoever the band is. Hey, half of them are dead. They can't be the real band,
exactly.
Unless you're ZZ Top, there's only 3 of them in the band. So
I don't know
be
how
long, and they're going to be doing a wheelchair tour.
I don't know how those guys are pulling that off. Like, I mean, and it's no disrespect to anybody in the music industry, but a lot of the guys are kind of dropping like flies these days, it seems like. And I mean, you're on the road 200 days a year, whatever, 150, 250, whatever it ends up being. These guys aren't kind to their bodies throughout their life doing the rock and roll thing, I guess, at that high level. And then you end up with a situation where somebody ends up, most of these guys are dying at like 60 and early 70s, which isn't too young, but it's still kind of one of those things that makes you think.
You bring that up, you know that they had extracurriculars in their touring life.
Oh yeah,
totally.
And,
we went to the Bohemian Rhapsody movie last weekend, and it was a great movie. Obviously, the soundtrack was kick-ass.
Oh yeah, totally.
But what we realized, my wife kind of mentioned it. We never saw anything of the band. They never showed them doing anything, doing drugs or getting drunk or having parties or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Now maybe Queen didn't do that, but I can't hardly believe that they didn't. I mean, it's rock and roll, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I feel like some bands might play it up a little bit more than others. Like, let's take Pink Floyd for example. Do you think those guys were just out of their minds 24/7 for like 30 years straight? Like, I don't think you'd be able to play if you actually were, or like Motley Crue. They were always like, oh, we did. Even you read their book, we did all this, that, and the other, and
go below the stage and get 6 blowjobs.
Yeah, it's like I don't
all
even
these naked women.
Yeah, and just drugs,
3 lines of coke,
all the heroin in the world, and I still played that night, and then we did it all the next day, all over again in a different town. Like, I don't think maybe like you might not remember it quite like you think you do, but like, man, that's tough on your body though. Those guys, I've never even really thought too much in an adult life about trying to go out on tour, and I don't know if it has like the fear of that kind of stuff coming around or what it is. Maybe it's just being older and knowing that it's not something that's plausible in an older life, but like, I don't know. It just seems like I've always had this kind of fear of that in the music industry as a whole, because there seems like there's just so many people dying now, and I try my best just to steer clear of any sort of talk of over partying, I guess we can call it, because it does happen, but it's, I don't know, man. I'm definitely not gonna over party for a $100 payday at a bar.
That's right.
That's
walk out with a $32 tab.
Exactly. No kidding. I still owe them all the money. That's. I mean, there's probably some bands that go about it that way, but I guess that's still a business move if you think about it in the sense that they are getting free beer for playing a show. So it's almost like they're doing work for free beer. I mean, it's kind of an economics deal in a sense, anyways.
Like I said, I've always been Opie Taylor, goody two shoes.
Yeah.
When I was a young kid and my dad was in the bar, I saw the drunks and all the drinking and the smoking and that, and I've never attempted any of it. And
I feel like
I've had a few drinks here and there, but nothing.
Yeah. I did my fair share of drinking through my early to mid 20s, but the older I got, I didn't really care for it too much, and I started kind of late in life compared to most people. And I just never really got drinking too well. I'm not good at it, I guess is what I always tell people, so I just don't do it. But
you say that. That's what I used to say is, people say, well, why didn't you come over and talk with us? Well, because you're all standing around with a beer in your hand, and I'm drinking a soda or a glass of pop or whatever, and it's just not, from my angle, it's just not comfortable. I'm out of place.
Exactly.
And people say, well, don't worry about it. Come over and have it. Well, you don't get it. It just, I'm the odd man out.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do.
Yeah. You're like a softball on a pool table.
That's right.
They're all round balls on the pool table, but one of them don't quite. And I feel the same way too, because I feel like most of my friends kind of, not that they all drink too much, but I just feel like everybody just kind of drinks. And when you do get those like late night people hanging out and everybody's kind of hanging out and you're just like, man, everybody's drinking and I'm not, and I just kind of feel like a loser. And maybe that's one reason I kind of started playing music on my own as of the last few years, because comes a point when you deal with it and I don't worry about it anymore. Yeah.
Chris Carr, Chris still does once in a while. He'll do the group drink thing.
Yeah.
that's all right. I'll sit back and thumb through my phone while they're doing it or something like that. And
Yeah, I just wish I was good at it because everybody looks like they're having so much fun, and I'm just like, oh man, if I had 2 beers, I'd be like cartoon faced first in a booth, and I don't know why, but I just can't do it very well. So, so what kind of other bands you played in? We've named off four real big ones here.
Well, I used to play with a group for a few years. I used to travel for work, so it was hard to play for about 7 years. I would have to try to schedule my jobs for when I knew I would be home. I used to play with a group out of Ogden. Excuse me. Trying to get rid of this crap.
Yeah. Yep.
A group out of Ogden named Static.
Okay.
It was actually a group that it was Rick Weiss and his buddy Dave and Steve Curry and I. And it was brought on by the what was this class of 73 was getting together and doing reunions and
that was they mixed it with like a pool benefit for the town. Is that the one you're talking about, or do you?
No, I don't think that was it. But they used to have Lazy River Band was a band from 73.
Yep.
And we would get together as Static and be like an opening band for them.
Yep. And believe it or not, I was with Active Input, and we opened up for you.
That's
once.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
When I was in high school, I actually opened up for all you guys. And that was one of those wowing experiences where it's like, oh, man, we're rock stars. We're playing on a stage. I think Jody Hawkins ran the sound, so the sound was awesome. And we're just like, we're so cool. And then we got to watch you guys play. It's like, oh, these guys are actually really good. You know, so it was one of those humbling things.
They might have been.
It was cool and humbling all at the same time, for sure.
Anyway, I played with those guys, and it was, again, 70s, 60s and 70s cover rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, Grateful Dead tunes and Joe Walsh, things like that.
Nice.
I had a group up, like I was mentioning earlier, from the Lorenz area that I had been traveling, like I said, and I'd been talking to these guys about hinting about, man, I'd really love to play with you guys. And I came home and took a job in the plant again, and I went and visited these guys. They had a job up at the casino up in Evansburg, and I went up and visited them with them. And I said, hey, whenever you guys are ready, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So then about 3 weeks later, they called and said, hey, you want to come over and we'll sit down and hash out some songs. Well, I went over, and it turns out that the bass player they had in mind was Glenn's brother, Don, and Don wasn't available. Glenn Samuelson and Don Samuelson from the Lorenz area. Yeah. And Bob Johnson showed up playing bass.
Nice.
I'm thinking, well, why is Bob here? You know, and it was great because I love, I always get along with Bob and plays well. Yeah. And then a week later, I see Bob again, and he says, so how'd the audition go? And I think, audition? What the hell are you talking about? He says, yeah, they said they were going to try you out. And I'm thinking, okay, but I thought we were all in agreement that this was just going to happen, I guess, you know. Yep. So we got together and we played probably 4 or 5, 6 jobs maybe. Yep. Local bars, Marathon, Lorenz. And we didn't have a name. And I was joking around with Glenn one night about it. And he says, yeah, this is I always wanted to be in a band. This was going to be my 50-mile fame. You know, 50 miles around, everybody'd know us. Yep. I said, well, that's it, 50-mile fame.
That's awesome.
So that's what we started going by for a while. Yep. And then come to find out the other guy in the band said, no, this is going to be my band. Huh. And I was going to be the hired hand coming over and doing all this practicing and shit. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I've never been a hired hand. Yep. In any obviously until the Chris Carr Band. But I put my foot in it. I said, this ain't happening. I've never been a part of a group that I wasn't an equal. Yep. 4th, 5th, or 6th of the band. Yep. And it was just part of the group. And this guy says, no, we're going to name it after me, and it's going to be me and my band. Oh wow. I said, we probably won't be playing much. Oh man. And we did not. We quit. It all fell apart, and it was just maybe it was my ego. But if you ask Glenn and Don, I think we're all in agreement that we just couldn't get along with one guy. Yeah. And it all fell apart. So.
And yeah, I think that sometimes that's it just seems to be the way it goes in bands. It's tougher to get along with everyone than a lot of people think it is. I mean, we touched on it a little bit in the Nick Earhart podcast, but it's not enough that everybody has the time to get together and everybody wants to play music and you have somebody that plays every instrument. Yep. Because then you got to get everybody that at least interacts well with one another. And I mean, I've seen like you and the Chris Carr Band, all you guys interact a lot online, and you guys seem to give each other quite a bit of guff and enjoy talking to each other. And
Yeah.
you know,
It's good camaraderie in there.
Exactly, and it's
one thing I learned when I joined Kris, and I was very uncomfortable, and I still am kind of once in a while, but when they're done with a show or practice or anything, when they're all together,
yeah,
everybody gives everybody a hug and pats them on the back, and because we're brothers.
yep,
And that was hard for me to take in, first few times, thinking, well, this isn't my style. But now, it's just natural now that I know that, without them being there, we're not the Chris Carr Band.
exactly. They all got your back.
Yeah.
So that is actually pretty awesome thing. The camaraderie of some bands is really like I don't want to say a brotherhood, not to be I don't know what's the term, sexist or whatever.
Yeah.
Your brotherhood, it's a sisterhood, it's a family of sorts. There you go. Let's just call it that. It's a family. Is that everybody in agreement that family is okay to say?
I do agree with family.
All right, family. So
and it's the same whether it be Seldom Seen or Nedd Freeley or Fabulous Uniques. Everybody is their own little family.
yeah,
And the Uniques don't play anymore mainly because there's a guy one's from Atlantic and one's from north of Mankato, and we just can't get together.
it is tough to get to, but like
You're talking 300 miles between them.
how do you do that when you balance? Because let's say you're in 3 bands full time now. Well, right, 2 or 3.
First come, first serve.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of how it works. Is everybody pretty okay with that for the most part?
They have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
And
that's
I was playing with obviously I played with Seldom Seen for 26 years.
Yep.
But we don't play much.
Yep.
And then I started playing with Nedd Freeley and played with him for a couple years, and then the Chris Carr thing came along, and I told Chris and I told Nedd Freeley, if we get a job and it's a guaranteed job, I'll put it on the calendar.
Yep.
But if I book one with you guys and they want one coming up, they're not going to get it. But if I book one with them and you want one coming up, you're not going to get
Exactly. So you at least give everybody the fair opportunity of time on their hands. So like the earliest, first come, first serve.
Right
Exactly.
now,
like
Nedd
you said.
Freeley's got jobs in June and November of 2019 booked already. And
Yeah. I mean, hey, that.
it's not like 100 jobs, but it's 2 or 3 that are out on the calendar.
Yeah.
Chris has got a couple in the spring, I think. But hey, I'm stretched out. I want to know where I'm going to be and when before it comes time to be there.
Exactly. It is pretty tough to pull something together on short notice, and I think that's another thing that some people always seem to pass off is how tough it actually is. Like, I mean, you guys bring your own PA, you bring your own lights, you guys usually bring your own everything with the Chris Carr Band. So, I mean,
that's Chris is self-supportive. He is the man. He is the band.
Yeah.
Obviously, he is. He'll tell you that he's just one of the 5 guys in the band, but he is the leader of the band.
Yeah.
He supplies equipment, the PA. He supplies the lights.
Yep.
He supplies 40% of the front guitar stuff, and
Exactly.
50%.
Yep.
Hey, I am the hired man. I come along, bring a drum kick, fill on the holes, and and he's the leader. He says goes, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the dynamic, and it's kind of like a family type thing, like we were just talking about. Some families function in different ways, and you get some families where someone has to be a definitive leader, maybe not.
No, he'll tell you different. He'll say, Scott, you got your own input, and you're 100. Whatever you want to do, you do it, and that's great. He's right, but I'm just saying that I want to do it to his level.
Exactly.
And like I said, when I started with Chris Carr Band, I was at this level. I had to come up here.
Yep.
By the way, hands are 6 inches above each other here.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's something I always kind of forget about, is the fact that I don't have any video going for this. But who would want to look at me anyways? So
That's
definitely,
right. Or me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought about getting some videos sometime, but maybe that'll be for another podcast.
I told you when you come in here, I don't. It's going to be a different show than what you're normally doing, because I'm not the same genre lover that you guys are.
I mean,
I don't. You and Nick were dropping names and thinking, Blink who? Who the hell is that? I just don't know that stuff. I wasn't raised on it, and in, like I said, from the mid 85 to 90, whatever it was, screw radio. I'm just putting in with a CD and listen to what I want.
I don't blame you, because I feel that there was so much overexposure of music at that time. Like, let me put it this way. Someone was sending me Snapchats today of pictures of albums they had found while working at a job, and the person sold them to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, yeah, I'll just sell them to you. I don't need them. So I have these records, just some like ZZ Top, Aerosmith, Kiss, just a handful of stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, every one of these albums is great. And why is that? Is it because it took more time, effort, money, material, and everything back then to do it? And now
I don't think there was quite the saturation back then either.
Yeah,
there was maybe 5 or 10 or 20 rock and roll great bands, and the radio stations knew that that's what they wanted to play. Well, now the radio stations don't have a choice; they're going to play what's sent to them, and it's just all this saturated crap that.
You think something also has to be said for the fact that I could just run this laptop, this interface, and then get a digital computer plug-in, and then just make all my music from here with stuff on a desk?
I was talking to a guy at work the other night, as we were out working, and I said, you got to go out to the radio station and you just do a 2-hour Friday night show. You could record it at home and send it to them, and do a blues show or do here's my classic rock show or something like that. Mm-hmm. You got all the tools right there.
Yeah, I mean this is actually all you need, and this is like a little exorbitant. I mean, it's just an interface and a laptop, but like I should usually just have something portable with me. But I like the way this sounds better. It's pretty portable.
Well, it is a little more high tech than you think, because I have no clue what that box is you got laying there.
Well, let's put
like I said, I'm a drummer. I don't do sound. I don't do lights. I don't do electronics.
The easiest way to say this is this. The end of the microphone has 3 plug-in little prongies, and that won't go into the laptop. So I bought a box that had 3 prongies.
Understood.
And then the back end of that box goes into the lap. So that's pretty much what I did.
I now understand.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm actually pretty new to all this audio engineering stuff. I've got a very basic understanding of what's going on. So I hope everything still sounds good. If anybody out there in podcast land thinks that I need some help, let me know. I'll do my best to adjust it. But
like I said, I've listened to 5 of the 8 or whatever it is you've done.
Yep.
And I have not heard any problems. I heard one guy that was kind of hard. He wasn't quite on the mic all the time, and you'll probably find that with me today too, because I've been swinging away.
It happens, but like a couple of the first ones, I couldn't get the audio levels right, so I had to try to do it in post-production. It didn't work out as well, but even then, like, nobody really said anything to me, so maybe they don't know, and it's just something because I'm the one doing it that I feel like I know it more than anything. Let's talk about drum sets. What's the deal with you having a handful of drum sets?
Well, if that's a handful, that's a damn big hand.
Yeah, it's a big handful.
I for 23 years, I bought a brand new kit from Dan Trimble in Fort Dodge back in 80, I don't even remember, 85, 86.
Yeah.
And I played that kit for like 23 years. That's all I could afford. That's what I had. And it's no big, I had no way to get anything more than that. Well, obviously times have changed, and I'm more comfortable now than I was then. And I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, I bought a second kit, and actually what started it was I was playing the old blue kit, and I had the kit that I had for 23 years, and I bought this custom kit that I had. I sent the guy the dimensions and all the dimensions that I wanted out of it, and to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and he built this drum kit custom for me, and that was it's my Donahos, and I mean, they're my babies. That's the cool thing. Well, then I had 2 kits. Yep. Well, then one day I saw one for sale, so I can use that. I bought an old set of Diablos out of Perry, I think. I went down and made a garage deal,
Yep.
And then year later, a couple years, whatever months later, I saw another deal on Craigslist where somebody from the Twin Lakes area wanted to get rid of a drum kit, and they had to get rid of it now. I said, well, I can meet you in Manson, and so Deb went with me, and while I'm over here looking at the drums, thinking, "Oh man, these are nice. I'm getting these as steel." She's over there watching the person selling them to me, and she's thinking, "I'm getting her the next crack fix." Is what I'm doing. She had the shakes and shit like that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what it's turned into. Is I know the second I click on Craigslist, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
I love Craigslist because it's gotten what we're down in the it's gotten what you see here, and I've got current count is 14 drum kits.
Dang.
Can I play them all? No, I can't.
Not all at the same time,
but
anyways.
I can. Yeah, and if you ever come to a Chris Carr show or a Nedd Freeley show, you'll see that week to week, it's not the same kit.
And that's actually pretty awesome too.
Yeah, and I'll change that head every week, put it on a different drum kit, and retune it. And
that's something also that's pretty awesome. You almost never see drummers do that, especially ones that are in multiple bands.
Yeah.
They almost never swap out their drum heads on the front kick drum.
Well, normally all the kits that I've got when I'm not playing with Chris, I've got my signature on the front.
I also think that's pretty cool.
And people say, well, what an ego he's got. Well, no, it's not an ego. It's just that I was playing with. At one time, I had a couple different bands I was playing with, and I didn't want to change the head all the time.
Exactly.
So I just put my signature down. I think I wrote my signature 150 times, and then picked the best one and took it out to Terry's sign out there and said, here, I need 5 of these, and he made them for me. It cost me like $60-$70 to start with because he had to make the template. But
exactly.
Anymore, I go out there and get 5 or 10, or not 5 or 10, but I get 5 or 6, and he'll charge me $35-$40. And
is it like a sticker on the front, or is
it's
it
not vinyl?
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet.
We get down here, I'll show you one. It's just
Yeah.
a little stick decal that I put on. I'll go buy a black, resonant head for the front of the drum, and I'll put I'll put it in different places all the time, on the top or on the bottom. But it's not an ego thing. It's just saying, hey, this is me. And
well, it's no different than the fact that I have a blue guitar that's like ridiculously painted, and I have a pedal board that's super flashy with a bunch of lights and looks like a spaceship.
And somebody commented on your pedal board at the picnic this year.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
You don't remember that? It was Deb. She come over and says, "Who's?" It was like
that's right, because
it was like a monster.
The year before she saw it, but it wasn't plugged in the year before when she saw it. So that's I do have a pretty big, nice pedal board, but it's nothing more than like individuality for you. I mean, everybody's got to have individuality even within a band somewhat. I mean, otherwise everyone would play the same color guitar. Everyone would wear the same exact outfit. They'd have the same. I mean, it'd look, no offense to 50s music, but it looked like 50s music,
Well, and I'll tell you, every drum kit's got its own personality, and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know how to tune a drum for shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I've often wondered exactly how that all goes down.
I tune them all to where I think they need to be, and I've never had a complaint from like a sound man or anybody saying those sound like shit.
Yeah.
Now there's been a couple times with Chris that we can't get the right tone out of the kick drum maybe,
mm-hmm.
And we'll move the mic around, different places on the mic, but we always find it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter whether it's most everything is. I mean, there's a couple of 6-piece, there's a 7-piece kit in there, but
wow.
I don't know. There's no need for a 7-piece drum kit anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
I play a 5-piece as it is. Sometimes I'll play 6 if it's a big stage.
Yep.
I'll put 3 floor toms down, and but I only play the 1 rack tom anymore. And as a kid, I remember the days when I had matter of fact, those drums up above you there.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use those with my old Blue Royce kit.
Oh, nice. So
and I'd have, at the time, a 9-piece drum kit. Because, man, I was going to rock and roll, you know?
Yep.
And cymbals hanging at an angle. And, boy, I was the shit, man. And, no, I wasn't. I didn't realize it, but I was not. And I realize now that it only takes 4-piece drum kit.
Exactly.
It doesn't take all that shit. And it's not only that, I'm 52. I don't like carrying it all anymore.
Yeah, true. I do have to say there is something to be said about somebody who can take, even if it's just kick, snare, 2 toms, and like what seems like 3 cymbals.
Yep.
Like if you can just take that and make all of that sound come out of just that, it's pretty mind-blowing, actually.
I've been accused lately of the last few years of being a cymbal player, not a drummer. I have a habit of, if we're playing a big show or a big stage, whatever, I like to put up, I've got 4 different 18-inch crash cymbals that I love a good, I mean, they're nice, big, fat sounding, and they're loud. But, I love a good crash cymbal, too.
I also found myself on Craigslist falling peril to the ridiculousness of people wanting to get rid of their stuff for really cheap prices. And I went on Craigslist. I found a drum set. Somebody wanted $700 for it. I'm like, this is nonsense. But then I waited till they lowered it to around $450, and I met them near the Quad Cities because I was in Iowa City anyways. And it was just a Pearl export, but it was 2 kicks, 5 toms, a snare. It had a whole bunch of Zildjian K cymbals with it. So the Zildjian Ks, and it had a nice Tama throne with it too. So I mean, like, it's not like I didn't come away like a pig in shit, but I did come away pretty good with a handful of the cymbals and stuff on it. So I now found myself setting the thing up, and this is too big to set up in a basement. I don't need all these toms, So I did make it a little bit smaller. I do have 3 toms and just a kit. I mean, I guess you call it like a standard setup, maybe like a rock setup of sorts. But the next thing is to figure out how to be more comfortable playing it. What would you suggest?
Tighter.
Tighter?
I've got a friend from Lorenz that has just been learning drums for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there, I don't know, 6-8 months ago and visited with him, and I sat down at her kit, and it was just the hi-hat was way out left, and you know, it was just hard for me to reach everything. But she didn't know any different. She'd never done this before. And, and yeah, that's you, Anita. I'm talking about you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I told her, says, bring stuff in. Bring it in tighter. Squeeze the snare with your legs and get it in so you don't have to move your arms so far. And I'll be the first to tell you, I can't. I'm horrible at playing drum rolls. I used to be faster, but obviously I'm just not. I'm not great anymore, and never have been great.
It's not common practice for you, though. Probably like just
no. I do not practice. Period. The only practice I get is with a band. I got practice tomorrow night with Ned, and Wednesday night with Chris, and 2 jobs over the weekend. And but yeah, I play music on average 3 times a week.
That's pretty awesome. I feel like that's something that a lot of musicians strive for. And when some musicians get to that point, they don't realize how much work is actually involved in some of that too. Do you haul drum sets back and forth every single time you go to a place, or
every time?
So you never leave a drum set anywhere?
I do leave a drum kit in Algona, where Ned practices at. We got a little hideout. Nobody knows where it's at.
Ooh.
Anyway, I've got a drum kit there, and I leave it there all the time.
That's pretty cool.
Why would I want to bring it back if I got 13 others sitting here?
I feel the same way, because I mean, I ended up that way as a guitar player with guitar amps, and everybody's downsizing, and for some reason I still got to have a 4x12 with an amp head on the top going 100 watts for no reason. But I've got a couple different setups, and I ended up just getting tired of dragging them back and forth. So I did leave one down at the Dark Mirror practice pad, and I do kind of like having multiple pieces of gear for that instance specifically, I guess. And it's not that I have like gear just slathered all across Iowa at different practice pads, but it is kind of nice to have the ability to have that.
Yep.
Something kind of along the same lines. I have a handful of different guitar amps, and most of them are like the same model. And I was used to take the different amps out, even though the sound that would come out of them was basically the same. The front of them would all look different. So I used to like take those out and kind of. Some people would comment on it, and those are kind of the people I was aiming on, where they're like, well, that's not the same amp you were using the last time. I was like, no, it's not. And it's kind of funny. You ever get that kind of stuff with your drums where people are like, I thought you played one of these and not one of those?
Oh, they've mentioned it a few times. That's not what I saw you playing last time. I said, well, no, I spun the wheel and it landed somewhere else this time. So
how do you do? Is you just random, or however you feel for the day?
I just think about what the venue is and what kind of music we're going to be playing, and make the choice off of that. You know, I've got that black Sparkle kit in there. That's in Orange County that I bought down in Tennessee 2 years ago, and I went to a Sam Ash down there, and I had no intention of buying a drum kit. I mean, we went down to do some dancing, and during the day we went to Sam Ash. So I went looking around, and I looked at it and I thought, gee, that's a nice Orange County kit, 6-piece kit. I bet you that's going to be $1,000.
Yep.
And the guy comes back and says, yeah, it's $399.
What?
$399. What's wrong with it? What's wrong? Not a damn thing wrong with it. So I shot him back. I said, well, I'll give you $300. Well,
yeah.
Then he comes back. Well, can you do $320? I said, well, I can think about it. And I flipped it over, and the resonant head on it was trashed.
Yep.
I said, well, this ain't gonna do. He says, well, I'll throw a resonant head on it for you, brand new, if you give me $320. So a $50 head, I got it for cheaper than I thought it was gonna be.
Exactly.
And I came home I was just tickled. I came home with, and the snare is the best snare I've got.
Yeah.
It's kick ass. So. And again, back to you were mentioning you love Craigslist. A couple of deals that I've done. Guy in Iowa Falls had a Tama kit. Went over, and me and Deb went over on a Friday night and looked at it, and it was just tore to shit. I mean, he wanted like $300 for the kit, and it was just trashed. I said, I'm sorry, man, I can't help you. But he had this Zildjian cymbal bag full of it had a kit of Zildjian Ks in it.
Yep.
I said, but I could probably give you, I can give you $75 for that. And he says, can you go 100? I said, well, I don't really need the bag, but I could go 100.
Yeah.
Gave him $100 for the thing. I
That's
threw it in the
awesome.
trunk. I said, "Get in the car. We got to go now."
Run. That was the drum set that I bought with the Zildjian Ks. The guy that sold them, he's selling them for his son because his son didn't play the drums anymore. I mean, they've been sitting in a garage for, I think it was like 8 years or something, and his son ends up getting a hold of me, and he's like, "Oh, those cymbals are worth it, worth the money alone." And I guess his dad had fielded some offers on the kit, but people either just they're like, I just want to buy the cymbals, and the throne was usually what people tried to get, because I guess it is kind of tough dragging around a whole, like a shell pack, especially like a 7 or an 8 piece shell pack. Because I put mine in a Toyota Avalon and barely made it back. And
well, I can get everything in I can get the complete drum kit in the trunk of my car except for the bass drum.
Do you take the heads off when you put them away? Nope.
A lot of them, 2 or 3 of my kits, you can see they're already in cases in storage down here.
Yep.
But I can't get them in my car in cases.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave the cases in the basement, and just the only time they're out of the case is when they're going out to play somewhere, and then bring them back and put them away.
Yeah.
That kit right there you see in there, that blue sparkle or green sparkle, whatever color that is.
Yep.
I bought that about a month and a half ago down in Polk City.
All right.
Somebody had bought it. It's a little Safari bop kit, 16-inch kick, and that kick is heavier than some of my 22-inch kicks. It's just solid. Anyway, it's $399 brand new, and they wanted $250. I offered them $200.
Yep.
They took it. I went down and picked it up, and I think one of the stands still had the sticker on it, the tag on it.
Jeez.
It's all completely brand. The heads are all original on it.
Yeah.
I stole it, for 50% of cost.
Exactly. I've run into that too with some. That blue guitar that I play is, I guess, nothing more than somewhere between like a beginner and intermediate level guitar, because I didn't want to trash a super nice one. But I have found a lot of people that sell stuff that is somewhere in the intermediate-ish range of an instrument, and it's just, we bought this for our kid and he didn't want to play it anymore, so we're just getting rid of it. And there's a lot of crazy steals out there. That's something I've tried to do with like some of my guitar students, is steer them clear of like, nah, don't buy this new thing. I mean, there's a couple things here, like these ones, I'll send them some Facebook links to some things where people are selling stuff for cheaper.
There's definitely some good deals out there, but you got to wait for them.
Yeah.
You got to, don't jump on it and go with it. The green kit, that Pacific kit.
Yeah.
That was actually one that was a guy that lived west of the Twin Cities about an hour.
All right.
And he wanted, I think his cost, he wanted $350 with it. Or pardon me, he wanted $250 for it.
Yep.
And I got on there and I said, I'll give you $150. And he come back and, why don't you go buy a DW drum kit and see what it sets you back? And these are Pacifics, the same company, and all this kind of stuff. And I replied back. I says, listen, I'm not being an ass. This is just what I do. It's Scott's Home for Wayward Drum Kits is what it is. I buy a kit. I don't sell it. I don't give it to a kid. I play them.
Exactly.
I put them in my rotation.
Exactly.
He replies back, well, you're just the guy I'm looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
So I went up. I drove up there. Here's the story. I drove up all the way to the west of the Twin Cities an hour. Bought the drum kit. Handed him $150. It had 2 extra stands that I didn't know about.
Nice.
Gave him $150. And I said, 150, right? He says, yeah, but I'm going to make you take this too. And he points at that Viper, that PV Viper that's in the other room.
Nice.
Still he was asking $200 on a garage sale for it. He made me take it.
That's awesome.
Made me take it.
That's
for the
crazy.
total of $150. I then drove to St. Paul, picked up a second drum set that I'd been wheeling and dealing on. I paid $80 for this 4-piece Pacific gold around the corner, but Pacific black and gold. Nice kit. When I bought them, I thought, boy, these are going to be rough, and they are my favorite looking kit right now. You can't see them from here, but
that's crazy.
And my whole bill was $230. I was on a Friday night. I came home. It was the same weekend as Frontier Days in Fort Dodge.
Yep.
I played Saturday night with Chris Carr and played Sunday out at the park with Fabulous Uniques.
Nice.
Bought 2 drum kits, a PV amp. It still came away $170 a head.
That's crazy. That's so insane. I wish there was a way to like I don't know, let people know that probably should know that there are cheaper deals out there, because it is kind of tough, but you also don't want to like hunt stuff down and constantly show people where you're hunting stuff down and when.
And if somebody tells you no, don't worry about it. Just go on and wait for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I've ran into a few things sometimes where people like even selling gear where they agree to a price, and then you show up and they're like, only got this much now. It's like, oh, too bad, and you just throw it in your car and drive away because it's. I'm not gonna be had just like I'm probably not gonna let somebody take me on a deal either, So.
Well, when I go to meet somewhere, Deb likes it that we meet somewhere public, you know, just for a safety thing.
Yep.
Most of the time, that's where it is, unless I do a little background checking on people before I go driving up there and look at the environment. You can get on Google Maps or whatever and look at the environment and know exactly where you're going. And that stand-up cocktail kit we went to Sioux City and bought, and I went and the guys went right in his basement. Yep. I was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Could have been a slaughterhouse for all I know. But we made it out safe. And
yeah, definitely.
$100 later, I got a cocktail kit.
Maybe that's part of the rush. Maybe you're just addicted to buying things on Craigslist and getting away with your life.
No. I've slowed down lately. Like I said, that little bop kit was something I've needed for jams and practices, and that's the last thing I've bought since I guess it was June or July when. Yeah,
I mean, I need to slow down on my gear purchases too.
I'm starting to get the shakes again. Maybe need to get another fix.
Oh no! Oh man, yeah, I definitely need to quit buying gear because I'm selling some off, but of course, it's like sell one buy two, and the one you're selling it barely pays for the one more of what you're buying, and then you just end up with this.
And Deb's the same way. She says, I need to get rid of some stuff. Time to sell a few. And I agree. I could get rid of this or get rid of that. That definitely can be gotten rid of.
I wish I knew how to play it.
Take it home and try it.
No, sorry.
It's cheap.
No, sorry. I can't afford it. Whatever it is.
Actually, I offered that to Blummel. If he wants to play it in Chris Carr shows, I just give it to him. But he hasn't bit yet.
Oh, man.
He'd probably have to put new heads on it and make it sound better. Obviously, it needs to be sound better, but Craigslist is very addicting and very dangerous.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I just need to quit acquiring gear and just play all my gear, I guess, because now it's to the point where I've got so much gear I can't even play it all in all the bands I'm doing and stuff like that. So. I can't play. I can only play one drum kit at a time. Have you ever thought about taking like one piece from every drum kit and making some like super mega ultra drum kit?
I'm not that kind of. To me, it's got it has a lot to do with the look.
Yeah,
it's got to look good. It can't be just a. I've got a Diablo kit that it was black and red when I bought it, black with red trim.
Yep.
And the black finish was cracking on me, so I pulled it off and I refinished it in white.
Yep.
And now I call it my circus drums. I mean, it's red and white, and
that's awesome.
And they look great, but I just can't get I can't get them to sound good.
Yeah.
So I use them at practice. Say screw that and send them up there. And
I'll tell you what, we've gone well over an hour. We've got about an hour and a half here.
And we haven't talked a thing about the picnic.
No, we haven't. That's actually pretty wild. I mean, I'm cool to keep talking. So let's talk about the picnic. Actually, what's your involvement with the Rockin' Picnic? It's come up in the podcast a handful of times with a handful of people. And if you're not from Humboldt, you don't get it. But let's talk about it. What's with the Rockin' Picnic?
The Rockin' Picnic is just it's a free festival that a bunch of Humboldt gentlemen got together 10 and a half years ago. I was not one of them. But I went to the first Rockin' Picnic, took my family out there. And anyway, these gentlemen got together. They threw us some cash together, and they hired a few bands. And they thought... the stage out there at the Sheldon Park used to be used for the abate rallies.
Yep.
Huge stage.
Yep.
Going to waste.
Yeah. Hadn't been used, and it was kind of getting run down.
Yep. So they went together and pooled some cash and hired a few bands, and I think Chris was on the first bill that year.
I think he was.
I forget the name of his band. Can't even think of it. Anyway, I took my family out there, and we threw the football around for 4 or 5 hours, and I listened to great music all afternoon. But at that time, I was also more of an introvert and didn't go out and meet people, and stayed to myself. And
I feel you.
And went to the first couple or three. I think the fourth one, it was our anniversary or close to it, so I took Deb out. We went to the cities, and I remember that year it was just bitter cold. And they were freezing out there, but that was the one I've missed. Well, the following year after that would have been the 5th annual.
Yep.
I told him, I says, guys, if I can't play in a band that's going to play on your stage, what can I do to join and help? He says, well, do you know how to run a stage? I said, well, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And since then, it's blossomed into they allow me to, I help book bands for the shows. I help get the bands on and off the stage, try to keep it organized, try not to be a prick to people, but make sure that people are doing what they need to be and out of the way when they need to be, and emceeing the show.
The show too.
I never thought that would be my thing. I can get together with 5 people at work and I'm nervous as hell.
Yeah.
But I get in front of 300-400 people out there and man, let's go. It's so much more at ease.
And how crazy is that? Because I was talking with someone the other day at school, and we had to do some public speaking, something nonsense, and I just blank when there's people in front of me. And I just keep talking, and I've got no problem with it. And even like we had to do cold calls for Iowa Central for something for college, and we're calling people, and everyone, how are you so good at talking to people on the phone? Like, I can't see this person. I like, it doesn't matter to me really, I guess, but I've never really had too much of an issue talking publicly unless it's in an extremely informal way. If there's 4 people standing around talking and I walk up, and then I'll just look around and then turn around and walk away and won't say anything. Yeah. But yeah, you do a really good job of emceeing. And
I stutter and stammer a few times, but I try to get ahead of myself, and I just got to sit back and relax and realize, hey, these people are all here to have fun.
Oh yeah.
Give them a little information, tell them who's paying for the show.
Yeah.
And ask them to go throw a $20 bill in the bucket and
yeah,
let's play some rock and roll.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys had shirts this last year. I wear that shirt.
I think they've done shirts every year.
I wore the shirt for the 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
God, I wear that thing everywhere. It's been one of my favorite shirts. I feel like it's like one of those things where like I earned this shirt because I actually got to play on the show 2 years in a row now, and
that doesn't happen.
That does not happen, and that's something else that I feel pretty honored about because I threw a little band together. We had that show, and we all put so much work into that. I said I just need a T-shirt, like something in my own mind to commemorate how much work went into going just to play a show in Humboldt. Because I don't get the opportunity to play shows in Humboldt or even around the area very much, it seems like, with my bands.
Yeah, well, like I said, the first year I was out there, I remember I had my kids out there, and it was kind of a party. They dropped a few F-bombs, and I said, I took the kids home, and I said, well, it's enough of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a prissy. I drop it as much as anybody, but I try not to do it around my at the time 4-year-old daughter.
Yeah, you try not to do it loudly on a microphone in a public place.
Yes, yeah. So, like I said, the first couple of years we went and we tried to enjoy a little bit, and we did enjoy. And then I missed the 4th year, and then the 5th year, and I started helping them in the 5th year, and I've kind of taken it on as my own thing that and I've explained to the group a few times, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't be afraid to tell me to shut the hell up and go home.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm trying to make it, I've tried to make it a more of a family show, and I think it's 100% family today as opposed to...
I feel like it's a really good mix, too, because the last time, you have the bag tournaments there, and there's music going on, but there's also, like, people drinking beer out of coolers and just hanging out.
Absolutely. It's a public park.
Yeah, and it's not like people are just, like, running around going nuts, wasted, but
the other thing is, there's been a couple years that we had somebody try to get in a fight down in front of the stage. We put it. We were all there. We got it to a stop and didn't have to worry about it. We've got the local county sheriffs out driving around. And they're leaning in the car, listening to the music and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But as far as policing, there's 15 or 20 of us that there's a core group of 6 or 8 guys that get together and meet in the meetings through the year and make the plans and that. But when it comes time to do it, there's about 15, 20, maybe even 30 people that are part of the group that show up to help, to put stuff up and hang things and put up blocks, and, do whatever needs to be done.
Yep.
Make the food.
Yeah. And the food's always good. It's
Yeah.
not just like somebody's bringing McDonald's in a bag and saying, buy this for $20. It's,
Yeah.
what was there? Smoked ribs and stuff
Yep,
like
barbecue
last year?
chicken,
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Ribs and shrimp boil.
Yeah.
There's all good stuff. Anyway, it's obviously that's what the donations are for. We like to have people kick in because this isn't free.
No.
And the only way we're going to do it again next year is if they kick in this year.
Exactly.
So, and we've had a good couple of years where they kick in about the same last couple of years as what we had been. So we're getting good entertainment, with our good bang for our buck.
Yeah.
People don't realize that we're putting up a band Saturday night. We're putting up 4 bands, if not 6.
6, yeah.
On Sunday.
Yep. With
we're paying for sound, which is
the sound is another. We talked about it last show. Underrated every time. That sound there is so amazing.
Yeah. Mike and his wife and sometimes Jeremy comes up and helps with the sound, but Jeremy couldn't make it this year. But Mike did a great job. He did the monitor work and the main work, all on his own. Yeah, we had a couple spots where we had one guy that thought he'd blown his amp, but we figured it out that it was his guitar that was messed up, and it took us about maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 to get through it. Yeah. Meanwhile, we had a drummer over here doing a drum solo, and
exactly.
It was, people work together and make it work. Paul Larson is the guy that allowed me to join.
Yep.
And I think he doesn't like to be called the head of the whole thing, but he's the organizer and the bookkeeper, and he has given me the liberties to go out and look for bands and hire bands and do this and do that. And
you've done a good job of keeping it relatively local, but still far enough away where people from around here might not know the other bands.
Yeah, well, we've had every year we try to have one act that stands out.
Yep.
This year it was that rockabilly band that came on after you guys.
Yeah, Barrel House Rockets.
Barrel House Rockets, and they tore shit up.
They blew me away.
Yeah,
I could not believe that.
It was a good energy show. And I saw them like 2 weeks after that, and they were just ecstatic. Man, it was fantastic up there,
Yeah, man,
and then also good. We had you guys out there. We had Dawn Patrol. We had Rick Weiss come up with Jebediah Stone. They've been a regular couple of 3 years for us. Cross-Eyed Mary was there, and they are hammers. They hit it and they smack you in the face, and you wonder what happened when they're done.
Exactly.
And then Wild Ambition was our closer, and they actually were supposed to open for ZZ Top down in Fort Dodge this year. So, Wild Ambition did a great job, and had a good good following. The previous year we had a gal from Nashville come up. It was actually a two-piece violin and or fiddle and drums and guitar and it was different.
Yeah, the drummer drummed and sang and played guitar. That was pretty wild.
You know, it was different.
Yep.
But it was, and it's rock and picnic. We try to branch out into other genres, and we got no problem with some country music and stuff like that coming out. 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was, I don't even remember, 3 or 4. We had a guy named Jacob Stiefel, out of Alabama, or Nashville, I guess, where he's out of now. But he came up and he plays a good Southern fried rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know who he was going to bring until the weekend. He calls a few of his buddies and they get in a van and they go to Missouri and do a show, and they come up here and do a Sunday night show. Yeah. You ever heard of the band Accent?
Nope.
It's a real heavy metal band. I think it's Accent. The guy's name is Christopher Williams. He's a drummer for Accent. And they're doing tours like European tours and shit.
All right.
This dude played on our stage.
Oh, that's crazy.
So, great guys. Doug Mug Williams was a bass player. He's playing with acts around Nashville, and he lives in L.A. And these guys are coming to Humboldt and play the rock and pick.
That's pretty sweet.
That is cool. We got, we try, like I said, we keep it live and keep it local is the logo.
I like that.
There's the motto or whatever.
Yep, slogan.
We like to branch out once in a while, and actually, I had an opportunity last year that didn't pan out. I tried getting a guy on that Saturday night that was actually a touring act, but their price and my price were slightly different. We were close. Yeah. But I just didn't want to pull the trigger because it wasn't my money to spend.
Exactly. That's tough to make that work too. And I especially feel like if it's not your money to spend, that would definitely be tough, because you are looking out for everybody's best interest, not just definitely not a quick buck. That's not what you're looking out for, because it's free. You just show up and interact with,
when we hired you 2 years ago, I think I promised you $50 or something like that. And I don't know I don't remember exactly what we paid you, but this year I promised you same, and I think we gave you plenty that everybody was happy when they left. And
you always have a way to do that, to be able to promise us one thing and give us more, whether it be like help at the stage level, like bringing all of our instruments up on stage, or pay scale or anything. It always seemed like you guys always went above and beyond to make sure that the musicians there were comfortable. And that's, I mean, thank you for that for sure, because that's not always the way it goes. And maybe it's just because you, as a musician yourself, help run the event.
I think I know what's expected of us as stage crew, because I am a musician, and some guys are, and I tell the guys that are helping, Ryan and Deb and Tyler and everybody, that don't grab anything if you don't think they want you picking it up. Yeah. You make sure that every musician's fine with everything. And
yeah, because I mean, some stuff does cost quite a bit of money.
Yep.
So
I know that if I had my good Donahoe kit and some 13-year-old kid picked it up and dropped it off the side of the stage, I'd be a little bit in the...
Oh my gosh! Bummed out. Oh man, I'm a little bummed out. Nice soft way to put it, for sure.
So anyway, yeah, we try to keep it professional. It's a free show. We do expect donations because that's how we put it on. But just paying the bands, we're putting out like $4,000.
Yeah,
between bands and sound, and almost $5,000 with sound.
Yep. And
you think about it. It's not a free show.
No, it's not.
And that's not counting any food.
Yep.
Not counting any of the lights and things like that are being put up. It's not counting any of the repairs to the stage that we make during the year.
And you guys don't do alcohol sales there. It's just bring your own. It's bring your own. It's bring your own.
Yep.
So that's. I mean, you guys. I mean, it would be a big hassle probably to try to get an alcohol sale in a public park. I mean, that would probably be just insane because you'd have to close the place. And
yeah, we've never even, to my knowledge, I don't think they've even.
That would be a lot of red tape to go through. So it's. I mean. It's not like you guys. It's exactly like we were talking about. You're not out just to make a quick buck on anybody. You're out there.
We're not there to sell anything.
No,
we're there to have fun, and entertain some people, in hopes that they enjoy it and they kick back so that we can entertain next year's crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to say, I never went to one until I think the 7th one, and then I went to every one since then. It's one of those deals where you don't really realize how fun it is until you go to one.
Yep.
It's not. I know Humboldt's kind of a small town, so there's not really too much options for going to a show like that in this town or even in the area around it. I guess like the next closest thing might be a street dance or maybe even going to a bait, which then you're talking about no longer family entertainment.
No.
So.
But it's odd that Livermore can have a street dance and get 1,000 people on the street for a very good band. They
yes.
have Vic Ferrari come in there. They're a great band.
Oh yeah,
and people know who they are.
Yep.
We don't have that kind of budget.
Yep.
So we're trying to put 4 or 5 local bands together and do that. And, like you've said, even to start the show at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's 150, 200 people out there.
Already there, yeah.
Already there.
Yep.
They've had their barbecue for lunch and just crawled out of the tent at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Because some people are camping there the whole weekend.
Yeah.
What weekend is that?
It is Labor Day weekend, and it happens on the Sunday afternoon right before Labor Day.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We also, on Saturday night, throw together, we have a band one single band.
Yep.
Sometimes we have a country band. This year was country again. Last year we had rock and roll. Riddled with Class.
Yep.
And then Saturday night we have the band, and we do a shrimp boil.
Yep.
And of course we expect donations with that too. But hey, it's a real thing. They do the whole thing. They pour it out on the table, and you come in, you pick what you want.
Oh, that's cool.
It's good. And of course Sunday is the big throwdown, and this year, by Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, I was so dog tired I couldn't hardly take it.
Oh, I can imagine.
I already put in 2 hard days, and it was only Sunday afternoon.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's a really big show because all the musicians. It's like wrangling cats. It's just It's not like we're all that crazy or none of us show up on time, but it is kind of an adventure, I'm sure. Because I mean,
that's one thing for a band. A 4-piece band has 4 different guys that come in 4 different vehicles at 4 different times.
Yep.
And the next band is 5-piece, and it's 5 different guys, 5 different vehicles, 5 different times. And the next band is a 3-piece. It's 3 different guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
4 bands, 20 different musicians, 20 different vehicles I got to park back there, 20 different equipment pieces I got to get up and down the stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's just 4 bands. It's 20 or 25. I think I counted this year. Between Friday and Saturday night, we had like 36 musicians on the stage.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's 36 guys that otherwise would have been sitting around with their thumb up their ass somewhere.
Exactly. And I mean, you are giving, not just not just the people around the area something to do, i.e. going to a concert, but you're giving the people that play music around the area something to do and also to strive for. Because, to be honest, I thought it'd be pretty cool to play up there. And then you asked me the one year, and we had to do a little adjusting, but we put that blues stuff together a couple years back. And that was such a treat. It was such a treat, especially on like short notice and to have pay guaranteed already. I mean,
and not only do we have bands, but we have what I call our segue groups, which for years has been the Great Lakes Hybrids.
Yep.
Aaron Webbink and his guys, Zach and the guys, they've come up and they've done half-hour stints just because they want to get up and play music in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
We'd kick them a few bucks each time. Well, this last year, Aaron wasn't positive he wanted to do it and couldn't get all the guys together, so he came up and did the first one. And I don't know whether he got sick but he left, went home, had something else going on. So luckily, Chris Carr was there. And I said, Chris, come up and play some music. And he was also ecstatic to just come up and do it.
Exactly.
And I think Pablo might have kicked in a little bit for him at the end, because we appreciated it. But to have the Cosmic Brownies do our segues between, the way we do it is, we'll have a band on for an hour or 2 hours, and then we have a 30-minute break. And in that break, I get somebody local up there to play some acoustic music or something while we're doing the stage change.
Yep.
Setting up sound and setting up equipment and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next band plays for an hour and a half. Then I do another segue or an acoustic thing.
Yep.
So that was originally what you were hired to do 2 years ago.
Yep.
Actually, it was an opening segue or whatever it was
to
kind of warm the crowd up.
Yep.
And as a musician or as a drummer, you told me what you were going to do with the tracks behind them. Thinking, oh crap, what have I done?
Somebody with a drum in a box.
It's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it actually.
I'm out there thinking this shit's pretty goddamn good. He knows. I mean, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah,
I never expected what you gave us that first year.
Believe it or not, I used that. I just used a Digitech Trio, but that's what I learned for the most part to learn with. I was too embarrassed to play in public with anyone else, and I didn't know how to ask anyone the right questions to learn things, so I would play backing beats and backing tracks to myself and play in my basement.
And then this year's story was we had 3 bands booked, and I needed a 4th band, and I was struggling. I couldn't come up with a 4th band. I couldn't find anybody.
Yep.
I was trying to get the rock. Pardon me. Pardon me for that. I was trying to get the Barrel House Rockets, and they hadn't confirmed, and I'd mentioned to you about maybe doing a segue, the 2-piece thing again, and then within like 36 hours, I get a call from that Aiden that did Dawn Patrol.
Yep.
He says, "Yeah, can I come play at your thing?" I was like, "Well, shit, yeah, we can." That's what we like to do. That's another thing of it. We like to get raw talent to start the show.
Give them an opportunity.
So we had them coming. That evening, Barrel House Rockets called me. Yeah, we'll come up and do the deal. So I'm at 5 bands.
Yep.
And then you send me a text, say, hey, I got a band put together. I'm thinking, wait a minute, band?
Yeah.
You were supposed to be doing a 2-piece.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, bring them on. I went from 3 bands to 6 in a matter of about 9 hours.
That's crazy.
And then I had to find room for you.
Yeah. I mean, I like doing the whole band in a box thing, and it is kind of unique, but I also feel like it's kind of gut.
I don't want the band in a box anymore. I want Stockyard.
Yeah, I liked it, but like I said, I just feel like it was kind of gutted compared to like a whole band experience,
Yeah.
But
no, the Stockyard came out, and what was it? You just got paid today or something? What was the ZZ Top?
Yeah, we Gots to Get Paid was the first.
Get Paid.
Yeah, one of the guys from the Barrel House Rockets even said like, man, that's from ZZ Top's new album. That's awesome. I can't believe somebody's playing a song.
And the
new.
Nugent tune was what caught my ear.
Yeah,
that was kick-ass.
Stormtroop, and I handpicked that song, and I've oftentimes said like, regardless of Ted Nugent, I love his stuff. It's definitely punch you in the mouth, rock and roll from like the 70s, and I love that song. It seemed like it was for the most part pretty simple and really rocking. So
you guys kicked ass, and it set the bar pretty high for the Rockets to cover too. So
and oh man, those guys were so sweet. I went back to my car, put a bunch of stuff away, and I actually stayed and watched most of their set, not their entire set, but most of it before I left to take it. I had to go take a shower and clean myself up because I'd been out there sweating all day. But so. That Rockin' Picnic show is definitely one of my favorite things. It's like a diamond in the rough out here.
And you wouldn't believe we think everybody, oh, man, how can anybody, everybody knows about it, and you come to town and say the what, the rockin' what?
Yeah,
the rockin' picnic. People that listen to music.
Yep.
I have no clue what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know for a fact. I've talked to you 3 years in a row about it.
Exactly. And I always wonder if there's like a certain way you can go about getting more exposure in the town about it, other than like the only other thing you can think of is like.
Well, we had an article in the paper this year, the week of.
Mm-hmm.
We've got posters all around town at all your local convenience stores, and it's hard to do anything more. We have a sign out on the four-way Rockin' Picnic. I don't know how. What other media is there that we can use to get to people?
Other than asking for sponsorship, maybe.
We've thought about going around local businesses and see if they can all kick in.
Yeah,
$100, $500, whatever.
I guess at a situation then you're somewhat at the whim of whoever's sponsoring the event.
Correct.
Too. So.
And that is what the committee itself has had trouble. Have had troubles buying into, is if you get somebody that says that kicks in $500. Now we do have sponsors.
Yeah,
we've got people that kick in outrageous amounts of time and effort and even cash. A few of them, but it's because they want to be there.
Yeah.
And they know that the picnic is there, and they come out and do it. We don't want to come to local businesses and say, hey, can you give us $500? And then once they give us the cash or give us $1,000, they give us the cash, then they say, well, we need you to do this for us.
Yeah,
or we need you to announce this, or we need you to.
Exactly.
We don't want to be working for anybody else. This is the Rockin' Picnic.
Yeah.
Not Humboldt's Brand X Rockin' Picnic.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I totally get that too. I've debated doing sponsors on the podcast a couple times, and I've fielded a few offers, but some of them are either so low it's not worth my time to have the liability of answering to somebody else, or somebody that wants too much from me for the amount they're going to give me. So I've just said no. But sponsorship would be kind of a tough deal to deal with.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, if we do decide to go that way, and maybe, who knows, we get some new, we are, thinking about maybe some new blood on the committee. I don't know. We've got some people in mind that we'd like to bring in. But, if we were to start getting some sponsorship, I would think that, that obviously would allow us to hire bigger name bands.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not anywhere near a ZZ Top caliber, but
we're
not even in a hairball caliber.
Yeah,
Because shit, those guys are getting $15,000-$18,000 a night.
Yep,
we can't do that.
Yep, I mean, justifiable too. Those guys are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
maybe if we get some sponsorships, we'll, in the future, that would allow us to do a bigger show. But a bigger show means more people.
Yeah,
more people means more security.
Have you ever thought about trying to, and this is nothing against the way that it's run, but increase the social media presence of the Rockin' Picnic? Because most people these days are going to Facebook pages, and that's run by a Facebook group. And I feel like a lot of people are less likely to join a group than like a page.
Is it just a group? I think there's a page too, though.
I'm not sure there is a page, but I am in the Rockin' Picnic group, and I feel like that's where most of the stuff I've seen gets shared. And if it's not, you definitely have to share it with me, and I'll share it in
we'll do some looking.
I'll share it in the comment section below somewhere, because I will have a pretty lengthy description for you and all your bands. Do all your bands have social media presence at all? I know Kris Karr Band does.
Chris Carr does. He does his own. I've set up a Facebook page for Nedd Freeley and Seldom Seen.
Yep. Okay.
I don't. You know how busy I am. I don't get to update them very often.
Exactly.
But, usually, if I've got a job coming up, I go out and try to post it. But I haven't done it with this week's. I spent this last weekend. I had a group from Jackson, Minnesota, that does a country Christmas opera show or something like that.
Yeah.
And I knew a guy that knew who I was, and they called me to come do that. And
oh, nice.
And it's nice to be picked out of a.
Yeah.
They knew 20 guys that could do it, and they chose me. So
that's pretty sweet.
And that's the one thing I was going to go back to is I was playing with Chris one night back at, not to jump subject, but
no, it's cool.
I was playing with Chris down at, used to be Pee Wee's Pub, which is now Patty's Pub.
Yep.
And I think it was Jeremy Ober or Brutal Pub. I think it was Jeremy had a CD opening or a CD release party.
Yep.
And he invited Chris and the band to come down and play an hour, so we did that. And I remember talking to who's the drummer for Blue Ribbon Ramblers? Caleb.
I don't know.
Anyway, Caleb, I'm sorry about your last name, but anyway, I remember that night I was up at the bar and kind of talking with him, and I said, man, I not only am I the third or even fourth best drummer in the band.
Yeah.
There's 3 other drummers in the band better than me. Not only that, but there's 25 drummers in central Iowa or 15 in the town of Fort Dodge that would do better in this, are better than me and would do better in this gig. And Caleb says to me, I think it was Caleb, he says, dude, there's 20 people in town that want that gig, and you got it.
Yeah, and there's got to be a reason for it.
Yeah.
They're just not just going to give it away to anybody.
Yeah, and that, like I said, I try to stay humble, and I'm the first one to tell you I ain't very good.
Yeah, there's got to be a balance between being humble and believing in yourself, though.
I've had confidence problems all my life.
Yeah,
when it comes to how good or how much better other guys are.
Exactly.
Somebody 5 times a week I get somebody sending me a text or something on Facebook. Hey, watch this video. Watch this kid drumming, or watch this old lady. And I always reply, yet another drummer better than me.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't share it publicly, but I found it's been going around on Facebook. There's a meme that is somebody that's crowd surfing, and then there's a guy standing on top of him and playing the guitar well. So there's a guy crowd surfing and a dude standing on him like he's a surfboard. And it said that this is me skating on the achievements of my fellow bandmates because I'm the least talented member in my band. And so I sent that to everybody in all my bands this morning. I said, hey, have a good week, everybody. This is somebody took a picture of me at the last show we played. And so I always felt pretty humbled to be around some pretty talented musicians, too.
Nobody could be any luckier than I am. To have the Chris Carr gig, the wealth of the talent there, between Bruce Borchers' guitar, he makes that thing cry.
Yeah,
it's awesome. He does, and Jeff is one of the greatest singers I know. Chris is phenomenal. But here's the deal: Chris is a drummer.
Yep,
started out as a drummer.
Yep,
and I'm embarrassed to even watch him play. It's humiliating.
He's so good. Yeah,
and Brad, I knew Brad when he was in high school. I knew Brad when I was in high school. I won't go any further than that. But I didn't know he played bass.
Yeah.
And when Chris called me and said, "Yeah, Brad, our bass player is Brad Strickland," I'm thinking, "What?
Yeah,
Brad who?"
Yeah.
And then as far as Nedd Freeley goes, Jack Diamond is a phenomenal guitarist. And we got Steve Curry. Steve Curry, almost every band I've ever played in, he's been with us.
Steve Curry's amazing.
Yeah.
I still remember the first time I saw him was at that.
Steve's good on guitar, but he is great on the bass.
You think?
I know.
I've never seen it, so
I know it. He plays bass with Ned. He does a guitar on a few songs, but he's more of a bass player. He's so solid, and he knows his riffs and runs. And Eldon Landolt, been friends with Eldon since I was 15, and Donnie Wagner. Donnie and Eldon, obviously Curry was in the first group I played with when I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
But Donnie and Eldon, when I was 16, I got a call from somebody that said, "Hey, we're going to we need a drummer for this band." I said, "Oh yeah, I can do that." And then they said, "Yeah, 2 of them are going to play trumpets." And I thought, "What?" Fantastic!
Yeah,
it was great. It was what it was the Shimmons from Gilmore, and Eldon Landolt and Donnie Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time I ever met these guys, and we went down and practiced in some garage or whatever, and of course I was 16. I was just all around shit.
Yep. It's a little bit of a boom cha with mostly fills in between everything.
Yeah.
So,
and we named the band for a one night only show. It was called the Guts Galore Fun Band.
Why?
That's what it was. We had Guts Galore, and we went out and played one show.
That's what it ended up being.
It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Good times.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got
I'm sorry.
2 hours in.
You'll have to edit this out.
No, we're not going to do any editing. As a matter of fact, I had debated splitting this up, and I don't even think I'm going to split it up.
I think we're about a 145 right now.
Everyone's just going to have to deal with it. Let's do a quick recap. So you got Chris Carr Band. You're the drummer in the Chris Carr Band.
Yep.
And then you got Nedd Freeley Funn Band.
Correct.
You're the drummer in there. I guess you're the drummer in all these, but you also sing in the Nedd Freeley.
Nedd Freeley, I carry. Like I said, I don't. It's not my band by any means. It's our band.
Yep.
But it makes me so happy to have so much responsibility.
Yes.
And I know that if something were to happen to me, they would have trouble There are drummers that could do it. Chris could go down and do it.
Oh yeah.
But
you're trying to make yourself indispensable to the band.
well, I'm not trying to. I just
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that. Like I said, it's not my band; it's our band.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Boy, I sure do like getting to sing all that all night.
Oh, I bet. So then you got Seldom Seen, which was the band that you've probably been with the longest, I guess.
That's just the Country Boys.
Yep. Fabulous Uniques, which you are in the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes, I am.
With them, so that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks to them.
Dude, yeah. I mean, you've played in a plethora of other bands. We've touched on a handful of them over the last couple hours. Do you got anything you want to promote other than some shows? I did have a note down here for jam nights. You were doing some jam nights here.
Yeah,
and
we
there.
did. We there used to be the jams in Havelock that kind of fell by the wayside when the bar closed a couple of years ago, and I've been dealing with or talking with Sarah up at the Red Lantern in Bode, and we did put one together for the last Friday of October.
Yep.
And I plan to do it again, but it might be January before I get to it because I've got things going. It's going to be like a last Friday of the month thing. But I know November and December are both booked up busy for me.
Yeah.
Now, I could, if somebody's interested and wants to do it, give me a call and I'll help you set it up, but I just won't be there.
I just wish my library of known music was wider to be able to go to more of these things. Cause
You just got to come along and find somebody else in the group that knows the progressions and can help you out with, GCD or whatever it is.
Yep.
And strum along.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I can't just play along because I can just like watch someone and follow along, but I like to have stuff like written down in front of me.
And even if you didn't come to play, come to listen to see what you're getting into.
Exactly.
And know the next time, well, yeah, I could probably pull off some of that.
I also feel like that's a lot of it. You should probably just go and watch it once just to know. Because it's not that they're going to play the same songs next week, but they're going to play the same handful or style of songs the next week because it's going to be the same guys leading the jam session. And
that's with this jam. I might pick some of the same guys for the second time we do it, but I know there's 3 or 4 other guys that I want to call that get involved. Obviously, I got 20 or 30 guys that I know that would be happy to do the bass part or the guitar part or the drum part, and I don't even have to be there. I just kind of would like to get something going again, and for me it's just it's a release. I don't have a band that I'm playing with currently that I can do It's a Long Way to the Top if you're going to rock and roll.
Yeah.
But I've attempted that a couple times with this jam band. We did it in Pokey a year ago, or whatever. But that's the kind of thing I get to do. Bob Seger's Sunspot Baby and songs, AC/DC. All night long, shoot me all night long, things like that you don't get to normally play in a band. And I yell to the guys, hey, we're gonna do this, and a couple days beforehand I'll send a MP3 or a link on YouTube or something like that. Say, hey, I would like to try this Friday night. So, hey, it's all good and fun.
So you got the show with Chris Carr Band coming up on that would be
Wednesday night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
actually, this coming Friday night, which this pod won't come out till end of the week or next week.
It'll come out Thursday. This Thursday. So all these shows will be these dates will be current still.
Well, this Friday night, the 16th, we'll be at the Red Lantern in Bode, Iowa.
That's Kris Karr Band?
That is the Nedd Freeley Funn Band.
Nedd Freeley. All right. Then you had a Saturday show with them.
And then I've got a Saturday show with the Nedd Freeley Funn Band at the Algona VFW.
Ooh.
It's a dance club that's booked us up there.
Oh man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The 21st was your Chris Carr Band show as
night
well.
Before Thanksgiving.
And then that's it because there's no Fabulous Unique shows or Seldom Seen shows coming up in the direct near future. Dude, thanks a lot for coming and doing the podcast.
You're gonna have a lot of people calling and say, "Dude, that sucked."
Tell them to deal with it because it's just the way it's going to be. I do like doing these podcasts because I want everybody to just kind of get down and learn about who else is in the music scene because so many people stick so tight to their circles and I don't ever feel like I fit into a circle. So I always try and just do my best to pick out the people from the circles I like and as I'm dipping my toe into these other people's circles, maybe I can figure out some other people to interview from their circles. It's been kind of fun. Like I interviewed a guy from Perry that I bought some gear from. That was Ben Christopher. That was a great podcast, and
he was obviously a very heavy metal kind of guy.
Yep.
And that was obviously he would have no interest in listening to my podcast.
But
I made it through his thinking, well, I don't really understand all that, but I'm got good information out of it.
Exactly. And, you know, from his, I learned about Tranzig, and Tranzig was another band. And then I learned about Eric Tran, the guy that kind of makes all that and put it on. And I might do a podcast with him soon. So I've done my fair share. It's like fun to get to network with people. Plus, I get to ask the questions I'd be too embarrassed to ask anyways. Because, I mean, how many times have I cornered you and asked you about your life? Probably never, because that's how talkative I am. Yep. So this actually gives me an opportunity to get, you know, sit down with you and learn a little bit. So
well, I'm glad you're doing it. It's, you know, I've had fun listening to, like I said, I've listened to 5 of the 7 or 8 that you've done. Couple of them I didn't know the gentleman, and I haven't found time to go listen to it. But when I saw you did Nick, I thought, well, shit, I'm driving to Des Moines last Saturday. We got to listen to their Friday night, and I put it on. We'll listen to that all the way down. Yeah, it was very entertaining.
Dude, Nick's was so good. It was like dark horse good, and
that was honesty, is what it was.
Yeah.
He told the story.
And I do feel like it's pretty awesome that he just kind of sat down and told how he felt about certain things, as opposed to just giving a one-word answer, because, you know, I feel like, I don't know, like when he was talking about emotional attachment to instruments, and sometimes you take to certain ones and sometimes you don't take to other ones as well. And I mean, every one of us has gone through that. It's kind of a crazy thing. It's almost like when you hear Seinfeld tell a joke, you're like, yeah, I do always think, like, what is the deal with those airplane peanuts, you know? And that was a good podcast, you know, and everybody's got some of those things. And I can't think about all this stuff, you know? So it is kind of nice to sit down with people and get their own perspective.
Well, I gave you no good sound bites, but I gave you the story.
Well, I'm not going to do any sound bites, but if anybody else wants to snag sound bites, go for it. That'd be fun.
Like I said, my musical background is different than anything you've interviewed so far. I apologize to everybody if it's been too boring or too long.
Yeah,
but that's who I am. That's my story.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks again. This is going to be the end of the podcast, so thank you.
Have a great night.
Hey, many thanks to everybody that listened to that whole podcast. That was a great one. We sat down, we talked about a whole bunch of things. We had debated ending the podcast, and then we realized we had some more stuff we wanted to talk about, so we just kept talking about it. I mean, I don't know if every podcast is going to be that long. Maybe they all should be. What does everybody think? I've heard some people wanted longer podcasts, and some people dug the shorter podcasts but wanted me to do more of those. So, I mean, I'm just kind of putting them out as they come out. I do very little editing to everything, but, I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes. So, thanks everybody for listening. I mean, I'm pulling in a lot of listeners from around the area. I never really foresaw this happening. I recently networked with the podcast IA people. The IA stands for Iowa, but they have a network of a handful of Iowa podcasters on a website, and I'm now in the directory for that. So thank you guys. Appreciate that very much. I do actually have a show coming up this weekend. If you didn't listen to the last podcast, I did mention it, but I will mention it again. I have a show with Unity coming up this weekend, and let's see, that's Saturday, November 17th. Raven is going to be at the Vaudeville Muse. There's going to be some opening bands. The opening bands are going to be Alter Within, Burn the Ailment, and Unity, and I will be playing with Unity on that show. So come check it out. It's going to be a great show. I've heard the other bands before. They're all awesome, so come check that out. It's going to be a good time. I hope to see everybody this weekend. Otherwise, I'm going to be at that Generation Axe show on Sunday in Des Moines, because that show is going to be absolutely amazing. If you're not going to be able to make it to one of those shows, check out one of Scott Dahl's shows. He's playing a couple shows this weekend. Those are going to be great too. So thanks everybody for listening. I just want to say I never foresaw everybody taking to this as well as they are. I just really appreciate it. I just want to give back, I guess, is the only thing. So once again, appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll catch you next time.